Nobody gives a damn about how the black man feels. This is something that you will hear echoed as a core sentiment when you listen to black men speak in a public forum. Oftentimes, when you're listening to hoteps pontificate on the biggest issues that they have in society, in and off of the internet, black men are convinced that nobody cares about them. Regardless of how many marches and lives were sacrificed in order to vindicate the black man when social injustice had arisen, the black man is convinced that he is alone in this world and that nobody understands the trouble he sees, nobody understands his sorrow, not even his woman. But I'd like to explain to you what is really happening and why it's really happening. You want to stay tuned to the end. Welcome to the Pink Pill Show. While black men act as if though they are the lion with the thorn in their paw, and that the world has given them a complete and cold shoulder, I'd like to do a deeper dive on what is really happening to them. The world continues to progress, and the world continues to create new rules that he simply cannot keep up with. And one of the more pressing issues that he is dealing with is the presence of a pookie mindset. Now, when we think of the pookie mindset, every black person knows the mentality of a pookie. What's understood don't need to be explained, but for those who do not know what a pookie is, pookie can be characterized physically by, sagging jeans and locks and beards and a cocky attitude and kind of a street energy. You would automatically consider that guy to be a pookie. Behind the physical experience, though, you're looking at someone who is mentally inept, someone who is arrested in their emotional development, lacks empathy, oftentimes chaotic and menacing, prefers to finesse and pimp out his women in all opportunities, and is often seen being completely self-absorbed and having a grandiose attitude. That is a pookie. So the truth is, when it comes to black men, it's not whether or not it's a pookie over here or a good guy over there. It is how much pookie is in that man. It might be 10%, it might be 80%, but the one thing that I do know is the more pookie inside of a black man, the more defunct he becomes in society and unable to adapt. That is why the more pookie that's inside of a man, the more they gravitate towards red pill messaging that suits them. Keep in mind, they cherry pick which parts of the red pill message they will consume. When it comes to fully providing, they ain't heard of that. Okay? Also, they will gravitate to people like Dr. Umar Johnson, Shahrazad Ali, Ayana Van Zant, people who will speak on how black men have been economically castrated and all of their woes and anguish, but will not speak on what kind of human beings they have become as a result of the system keeping them in an infantilized state. So they will gravitate to those who gives them a feeling of being enabled, but not necessarily those who will hold them accountable and hold their feet to the fire of meeting certain benchmarks in their lives, for which many of them appear to have very little interest in if it's not going to come in the way that they want it to come. Now, albeit I may sound like I lack compassion for them, but I don't. As a black woman dealing with black men my entirety in the scope of my life, both inside my home and outside of my home, I can tell you with some certainty that there's a certain amount of coddling that is required in order to keep a black man happy. There's a certain amount of denying your own pain that keeps a black man happy. And there is a certain amount of exaltation that they require. Okay? So basically, what people call that is king. You got to treat them like kings. But you can't have or hold the same expectations for them as you would men of other races, which poses as a problem because they instantly want to practice patriarchy, but a form of it that is watered down. So I'm going to give you 4 specific reasons why Pookie is having such trouble in society and why he feels like no one is listening to him. But the fact of the matter is, he is just not diverse and adaptable. Number 1, Pookie cannot code switch. Pookie needs to be able to know how to talk in a corporate setting as well as talk with his homeboys. Now, black men who have been able to master this are not going to tell you that knowing how to code switch has given them such opportunity to whereas his blackness has become erased and all of the stereotypes behind it. Absolutely not. However, what he's going to tell you is it gives him an inroad to increasing himself economically. If you cannot talk that corporate boardroom shit and still be able to keep it real with your boys, you're going to have some problems. In addition to that, you'll still be stereotyped. And it can be very maddening. But the truth of the matter is that the system that they complain about wasn't designed to fit their needs or their narratives. So because of that, they have to know how to code switch. You'll find a lot of black men using their woman to code switch. She's the one that handles the business in the household, takes care of the bills and such, because she knows the language. And a lot of black women are able to navigate those types of environments, and that is why we are neck and neck with them financially, because of the ability to code switch, which is something that they have not yet mastered as a whole. Number 2, women don't want to be these Pookies' second mothers. We understand that they've spent the greater parts of their lives dedicated and giving their energy over to fallacious activities, albeit sexual depravity, running the streets, correctional facilities, all manners of things that will never elevate their lives past a certain point, even if we do have some unicorns out here. But by and large, if you spent a majority of your life living on the edge, engaging in risky behavior, and not taking care of your mental and emotional health, you are a man that is not prepared to be in a healthy, solid relationship. Yet and still, these men will enter into these relationships with the hopes that these women will help them to grow. And many women are saying, get somebody else to do it. And as they are saying, get somebody else to do it, they're growing more and more hopeless that anybody wants to, quote unquote, build with them. But building with them is not the answer. Because as you are attempting to do those things with them, and they see that you're able to traverse these murky waters of the matrix in society, they're going more and more bitter about their inability to do so. And this can become very dangerous for black women in particular because of the high, unfortunate rates of femicide. In addition to that, it can be just mentally taxing. When they are looking to press upon their second childhood, they look to the black woman. Young Jeezy said it.
With you always, and the reason why I wanted to talk to you because you are my sister, and this is a safe space for me to say what I need to say. Because at times when we're at our lowest, we need our sisters, just like you guys need your brothers, and that's why this conversation was so real. Because I hope and I pray that this conversation can open up different conversations in our culture about being there for each other.
Okay? Many other men in society, Tyler Perry has said.
Listen, a lot of women, especially black women, and I might get in trouble for saying this, but I will. In our society right now, black women are making a lot more money for the most part than black men, right? There are a lot of black men who are successful, but for the most part, black women are making the money. So if you can find love, if that man works, at whatever job, and is a good man, and is good to you, and honors the house, and honors his wife, and does what he can, because his gift may not be your gift.
Exactly.
That is okay. That's not somebody who's beneath you.
Yeah.
That's somebody who came to love you at your worth, right?
Yes.
And as long as he's secure in himself to know that, yep, she makes most of the money, all I can pay is the light bill. As long as she's comfortable enough to say, I'm gonna cover the mortgage and all the other stuff, you handle the light bill, baby, you can take me to dinner every now and then. That is fine.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Number 3, he has to fully practice patriarchy, and it's pissing him off. The black men in many of black manosphere have went on a world tour with mics lodged down their esophagus, telling the world how they want black women who are feminine and friendly, who are cooperative and understanding. And when black women retorted with, well, I need all these bills paid, black men say, no, 50-50. And we said, wait a second now, that means 100% of the household. And I have to keep a smile on my face and please you and come up to all your needs as well? Oh, I absolutely cannot do that. So when you look at number 3 and number 1 is connected. Because they can't code switch and adapt to the matrix in society, They get very upset with black women who say, if you want to practice patriarchy, you got to practice it fully. This has to be an exchange that benefits me. Meaning that you're not going to be the one who has the upper hand here and it not be as good for me as it is for you. And this upsets them. Because they are used to seeing black women suffer, struggle, and work hard just to be loved. They're totally at a loss. Because now they have to come to the relationships with just as much resources as men of other cultures because they want what they see men of other cultures have. There's a direct correlation to the bad attitude of the black woman that they claim we have to working as hard in life as they do, coming to the forefront like they do, fighting their battles with them, fighting through problems with them, and not feeling like we have appropriate leadership. And so that frustration is mounting inside of them because they're starting to realize that the bar is raising and they can't even meet the bare minimum bar. Number 4, the Menace to Society Act is dead. Black women are not interested in derelict behavior. We're not. People are starting to say, I don't want the bad boy. Nah, you can keep the thug. Nah, I'm good on that. I don't want a rough neck. We're starting to see that, right? Now, as I said before, Pookie is not just, oh, it's a Pookie here and then it's a good guy here. That's not what's happening. It's how much Pookie is in him. And so we want the least amount of Pookie. You know, hey, Pookie is good in bed, so, you know, some Pookies at least. But we don't want that at the sacrifice of our mental health. So what's happening is these black men are not competing with black women who are just solely going to other races and other economic levels. They're also competing with black women's peace. And if a black man comes into a black woman's life and is not going to bring peace into her world, she is more than willing to let him go. Now, this isn't a huge amount of black women, but it's enough to be significant. And so what's happening is that if they want to do all of these illegal things or do things that cause trouble and problems in their life, black women are no longer intrigued by that. We're no longer looking at it like, oh my gosh, I gotta get myself a scammer. You know, we're not looking for the fast money life. We're looking for men who have sustainable financial stability, who can provide and protect. And then we can do our parts if that's the agreed upon assignment. But for us to overdo our parts and them only do a portion of their parts, it cannot happen. Now, unfortunately, because Pookie exists in them, they're going to want to put themselves in the most favorable position with a woman. So, even if he's working or even if he's financially well off, he is going to want that woman in such a position that it doesn't even threaten his at all. And so you're going to see that Pookie behavior pop up in many different ways, and there's ways to handle it. I will be discussing this often if you choose to deal with one. Once again, when it comes to black men, I say it's not a matter of if he's a Pookie or not, it's how much Pookie is in him and how much of that Pookie can you handle. So for all intents and purposes, the reason why black men feel unheard is because the world is developing and evolving without them, and they weren't even able to keep up with the world prior to. So imagine the way they're scrambling now. However, if they learn to code switch, get the emotional help that they need, and actually practice patriarchy in the way that it's meant to be practiced in capitalism, they're not going to be happier, but they will feel like more of a man, and that seems to be the biggest issue at this time. So, with that being said, I hope this helps, and take the pink pill.